Okay guys, last video in this series about preparing for your first solo trip, and today we are talking about how to talk to your parents about your solo travel. This can be difficult, right? There's a lot of emotions that go into this, so let's go through a few tips that might help you out. So the first one I think it's the most important, is you have to empathize. Yeah, you have to understand the situation a little bit and where they're coming from if they don't react maybe the way you want. What I always say is you have to remember that when your parents first met you, you could fit into their hands. Like, you were the most vulnerable of all vulnerable things. You could fit into their hands, and that's when they met you and vowed to protect you and keep you safe and love you forever, right? It can be hard, I could imagine, anyway, I'm not a parent, but it could be hard to get that little vulnerable baby out of your head and, you know, see this adult and think she's just gonna go off on a holiday on her own somewhere, right? That could be really scary. I get scared when I let my dogs off the leash at a dog park. So, like, I don't know what it's like as a parent, but I imagine it's pretty scary. Remember that it's usually coming from a place of love, even if it comes out as like control or fear-based or whatever, like negative things are coming out. I think at the core it's usually just, I love you, I'm scared for you, and I don't want you to get hurt. You were this big when they met you, you know, like, you're just always gonna be that baby to them. And that can really help you if things do get a bit heated and it turns into a bit of an argument. Remember that and have that empathy and understanding for them. It can help things from escalating and getting worse. Okay, so number 2, you have to research. You have to be prepared, you have to show them that you're prepared, because I guarantee you tell them something, they will have something to, you know, send you a link back in a text or something like that. Like, they're gonna have something to show back at you. And it'll probably be something like, especially if they haven't been to the place or they're not, you know, traveling people themselves. Like, one person died there 10 years ago, you know, so that's why you shouldn't go. So it's good for you to already have your research to be able to present to them as well. And things like where you're gonna stay, you know, what areas you might want to avoid, are you doing a tour or something like that, cultural things you might have researched, and all these little things. So definitely when you come at them, you have to have done your work beforehand, and it's just gonna help reinforce that, like, you didn't just wake up one day and say, oh, I'm just gonna go here. Like, there's been some thought put into it, there's some preparedness, and, you know, you're making mature decisions. Another thing you need to start doing, you can start doing this well before your trip, is establish credibility with your decision making. If you're still relying on bailouts from your parents with money because you're not budgeting properly, or getting picked up from the clubs because you didn't organize your transport or whatever, things like that, if they're still having to bail you out all the time, you can't grow from parent-child to parent-adult, you know, to being two adults. You're always going to be in that sort of dependent child state. So you need to start establishing your credibility now as a responsible adult who can take care of themselves and make smart decisions. So make sure you are able to take care of yourself at home, and it's going to help them trust that you can take care of yourself abroad. And actions speak the loudest in this, but also remember, you have to build credibility with your words. If they're saying something like how you're gonna keep safe or whatever, and you're just like, oh, don't worry, I could take on any man, that's just naive, that's very immature. You cannot, for a start, unless you're like, do you do UFC fighting? Probably not, right? So even if you lift weights or whatever, men are just naturally stronger, so you need to be able to show them, hey, I've thought this through, I've been taking self-defense classes, or I'm avoiding these areas, or I'm not going out at night, blah, blah, blah. Your maturity and your credibility comes through how you speak as much as in your actions. So just start building that up now. And it's good, it's gonna help that relationship grow anyway into the adult, even if you're not solo traveling, even if you're just becoming an adult. So another one is take baby steps. There are a lot of changes going on. Your parents have to adjust to seeing you as an adult, you know, and moving from seeing you as a child and someone who was very dependent on them for a long time for everything. Like, they've taught you so much, and be responsible for you forever, to moving into the adult where you can do things for yourself. So you don't want to like jump in and just be like, hey, I'm traveling for 6 months across, you know, Southeast Asia or wherever, doesn't matter. Maybe you just start the weekend away somewhere and start with like countries that maybe speak the language you speak, even if it's not your native, maybe it's something you speak. Help ease them in, because just as much as you're changing and growing and becoming an adult and stepping into this new chapter, they have to change and grow as well. So don't like shock them straight up with the first one, you know, maybe help ease them into it. Knowing your motives is really important. If you could sit down with yourself and just really think about why you want to solo travel and have a good honest look at that, I think it will help you in how you talk to them, and also it'll help give you a better experience, right? Because if you're just doing this to rebel against your parents, don't do it. There's so many cheaper ways to rebel. Like, I used to smoke cigarettes at the back of an oval. Don't do it, and you're probably gonna have a bad time. Just because when there's that bad motivation at the core of anything you're doing, it just doesn't end up that well, does it? If you're doing it because it's what everyone's doing, again, don't do it. Follow your own path. If you don't want to travel solo, if you don't want to travel at all, don't do it. You know, you can do whatever you want. That's the beauty of life. You get this one chance to make it anything. You get to design it. You're like an artist with your own life. So like, go and do whatever you want. So, but know your motives, why you're doing things. Because if this is something you're really passionate about, or you're really confident that this is good for you and it's how you want to create your life, it's an experience you want to have, that confidence will come through when you're talking to them, right? And if you're just doing it to rebel against them or something, that's also going to show when you're talking to them. So maybe just think about that before you even give this idea to them. At the end of the day, they might never get on board with this. Make your decision based on like what's going to be best for your life. If they're really controlling and making this really difficult, maybe threatening with kicking you out or whatever, and you're studying at uni, it might not be the best time, right? If you don't have your own money coming in and stuff, maybe this could just wait. You're obviously going to want to get out of the house at some point, because nobody wants to live under that sort of a regime, I don't think. But maybe you just work to save up your own money so you have a bit of your own freedom, and then you could just travel, move out and travel on your own terms. Your parents aren't going to support everything you're going to do forever, and maybe you just need to make that hard decision of, am I going to wait a bit and do this a bit later when it's a bit, I'll have a bit more control, or there'll be less negative impact? Or, you know, am I able to do this now, and will I be able to handle them being a little grumpy at me for a while, maybe get the silent treatment or whatever. So yeah, you need to, that's going to be all what's best for you, you know, so do what's best for your life. And just make sure you're really prepared, because there's no way you can go out and do this against everything they've said and then call them up asking for money when you run out of cash mid-trip, right? So you need to be able to take care of yourself. And when you come back, don't rub it in their face. If you had a great time and everything went well, there's no need to rub it in their face, because remember, this came from a place of love where they just didn't want you to get hurt. Just talk to them calmly, without that tone of like, I knew what was right and I was right and you were wrong. Just tell them about your trip, you know, just share the good parts, and maybe it'll help with the future trips, might be easier to take. And no matter what happens when you're talking to them, don't get defensive and angry and lose your cool, okay? Because even if they're not acting like a mature adult in talking about this, you can always control how you act, right? So whatever you have to do, if you have to stop and take a couple of breaths or whatever, the more you react like an angry teenager, like, and you can't tell me what to do and blah, 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 the more they see you as an angry teenager that, you know, they need to have control over. So make sure you can just calmly put your points across and, you know, let them know you understand where they're coming from, like listen to their points of view, maybe find some compromises. Just make sure at the end of the day, you can say you went into this as a mature adult, talking this through calmly, and you didn't just lose your cool and ruin any progress you might have made up until that point, you know. There's a real skill to being able to talk to someone, especially with disagreeing opinions, and you might as well start working on it now, because you need it in everything you do in life, right? So remember guys, give your parents a break. They're doing the best they can. They're just trying to protect you. Give them a big hug. I hope this helped you. If it did, please give it a thumbs up, and share it with any friends if they're trying to go on their first solo trip. I hope you guys have a lot of fun if you do try solo travel, or even if it's group travel, friends travel, boyfriend travel, whatever. Just have fun, enjoy the world, and if you like my stuff, please subscribe. It always helps me grow.